Hello again, everybody, and welcome to a new edition of You Bet CaneSport with Lee Sterling, our weekly look at the Miami Hurricanes from the betting perspective. I'm Gary Furman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined by Lee Sterling himself of ParamountSports.com. If you want to get in on all the action with Paramount Sports, you see the website, you see the phone number at the bottom of our screen. I highly recommend it. But Lee, Miami is, befuddling some people because of how well they are playing. I mean, if you're not a Miami Hurricanes believer by now, after what you witnessed on Friday, or I guess it was on Saturday, I got my days mixed up, on Saturday in Tampa against South Florida, then, you're hard to convert, because Miami was challenged in that game, as Lee, you very astutely pointed out on our show last week that they would be. But then they gathered themselves probably at a level that surprised some people and won the game going away. They shut out South Florida in the second half and left the Bulls in the rearview mirror as they headed back to South Florida, where they now play Virginia Tech. And last week we were dealing with an 18-point line, and it seemed like it might be too high, that people might be expecting maybe a little bit more of the Canes on the road in a night game than they should have, and Miami covered. Now they're back at home against the team that we should point out the odds makers think is better than South Florida, because, even factoring in the home field at night at Hard Rock Stadium, which, you could tell us in a minute how many points that's worth. I'm guessing it's worth 6 points. But even for factoring that in, Miami is now 19.5-point favorites universally over Virginia Tech for Friday night. So, Lee, you got the floor. What do you think?
So I was right for a half, and then Miami turned it on, which was, fun. I didn't personally bet the game, but did give it out on the show, and I thought South Florida would be the right side. Thought we'd win something like 35-23. So everything went exactly as planned. Well, I didn't think we were sometimes not even getting set the defense. It didn't seem like we brought it, and that was maybe a little bit upsetting. But I never felt like we were going to lose the game. And then in the second half, just total domination, and we shut them down. And now you see why we're top 10. I mean, we're maybe trending towards a top 5 team if this keeps up. So good. It was the perfect opponent at the right time. You learned some lessons. Now we're going to face a team that traditionally plays Miami very tough, in Virginia Tech. Totally different style. They are blitz heavy on defense. On offense, a lot of motion, a lot of speed. And if they're hitting, they can be very good on offense. They also can self-destruct. They can turn the ball over. And special teams. You got to factor in special teams. That is probably Virginia Tech's hallmark, on top of also being a blitz-heavy team. They usually, I mean, just new coaching staff, but, throwback to what they used to do under Beamer. They're ranked 11th last year in special teams, and they're continuing that tradition. They're very dangerous, returning punts, blocking punts, kickoffs, things like that. So I think we're the better team. I think that this just feels different this year, this team. Teams, how about this, that have scored 159 or more points in the first 4 games, 91-46. That's 66.4% the last 5 years going into game 5. Like I said, it just feels different. This team feels like, I'm trying to think of the best teams in college football as far as defensively. Maybe Penn State, maybe Texas, maybe Georgia. I don't know if any team can hold us under 25, 28 points. So I think we're that good. I think our offensive line looks good. We're so deep at running back. I mean, we got 4 running backs.
I know.
It's crazy.
I know. I've been yelling at all of our fans on CaneSport.com. Stop trying to rank them. Like, why are you trying to
just
why
enjoy
are you trying
it.
to rank the running backs? Why are you trying to rank the receivers?
But I will say this: how about this kid Horton? He is really, from one year to the next, he has really stepped it up. We've got 5 or 6 receivers, so I'm just hoping we don't get any injuries. Like I said, it feels like different. What's crazy about Virginia Tech is there was a lot of preseason talk. If you read the magazines, well, if you listen to Mario, I think yesterday or the day before, whenever he was on QAM, he was talking about them like they were. I think he even said that they were picked by some people to win the conference. I didn't hear that at all. They were picked in the upper half.
There were a few people that picked Virginia Tech to win the conference.
I didn't know that. Maybe I missed that. But a lot of people had them like 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th in that range. This Virginia Tech team returned, if you look at based on how many starts and things like that, anywhere between like 19 and 20 starters from last year. The only problem is they're not great. They're just not. I'll never forget. There used to be, I don't know who it was, said one time, the good news is the team's returning like so many starters. The bad news is they went they went 3-9 last year. Right. So they were 7-6 last year. Are they better than that? Yeah, I think a little bit, but they blew games to Vanderbilt. They lost last week to Rutgers. A lot of passing yards to a quarterback that came over from Minnesota that's nothing special at all. You know, they got one good running back you got to worry about. Kid Tootin, Lane, the receivers is good also. But Drones, who's the cousin of Cam Ward, I thought that was cute. I'll tell you a quick funny story. I actually played against my uncle. You ready for this, Gary?
Your uncle?
I played against my uncle. So my grandfather remarried a second after, unfortunately, my grandmother died the year that I was born, but married a younger woman. She had a son, and her son went to Ransom. I went to Palmer. So he was only on the field for a few plays when I was on. He played mainly defense. But my brother one time on a kickoff ran down and absolutely destroyed him. And he told him, "Welcome to Palmer football." So I actually played against my uncle. Thought that was cute when I heard that. Kind of reminded me of something. So I like Miami here. I think, unless something strange happens and we turn the ball, we've only turned it over once in the 4 games so far. Once in two of the games. Unless we turn it over 2 or more times and they get like a punt return for a touchdown or something like that, I could see us winning this game 42-17.
Sounds about right. Friday night, Hard Rock Stadium, that never works out well for the road team. Very, usually, especially when Miami's good. I mean, it's such a home field advantage. Lee, I said 6 points. The odds makers were probably factoring in a 6-point home field advantage. Am I right about that?
So it's 3 points. If they were to play on a neutral field, they usually give the home team. So if we were to play, let's say Virginia Tech, it would be, let's say we were to play them there, they would take them the 3 points away and then add it to their side. The line would be something like 13.5.
Right. Yeah.
So it's 6 points overall.
Right.
3 points for the home team. I mean, there's been some other tough home field venues, and you have to take that into account. Like Boise State. Boise State at one time when they were good, that was worth like 5-6 points. I mean, they used to also wear the blue uniform. So they get the blue turf and the blue uniform. The quarterback's throwing the ball sometimes, thinks he's throwing to a wide open guy, and all of a sudden it's intercepted by a guy in a blue top. So that was that. I think they pretty much did away with that. That was pretty unfair. I think they wear white at home or orange mainly. So,
this is still a very hungry Miami team. You have a lot of guys especially on the offensive side of the ball, who are still waiting for that breakout game. We've been debating it with a lot into our other shows and on the Met Sports, but Damian Martinez and Sam Brown, who are 2 very highly productive, proven players in college football, haven't really busted out yet this season. Right. And there's going to be a game here where Damian Martinez is going to gain 100 yards rushing, or where Sam Brown is going to catch more than one 50-yard pass, and it's going to happen. I mean,
but Martinez had a couple what do you have, 2 or 3 touchdown runs?
He had 3 touchdowns.
He reminds you, who is that? Oh, Pete Johnson of the Cincinnati Bengals. He would hit like 4 rushes, 3 yards, 3 touchdowns. So
right,
I'm not worried at all about these guys. They look great. Brown, Martinez looks great.
Yeah.
I mean,
they might be a little worried about their season. You're talking about, like, in the case of Martinez, he's a 6-yard per carry back over 2 seasons.
Mark Fletcher hasn't done much at all. I think they've done good in managing his load.
Yeah,
he might have a game where he runs for 90, 100 yards on 8 to 10 carries. So this is a fun team. And boy, can you imagine? I'd love to be Mario right now, just sitting in my office and fielding calls through, whoever it is. Hey, I have a feeling you might get a call, as soon as the season's over, when the portal opens up, from this quarterback and that quarterback. And
there's no doubt.
He's had to chase guys the last couple of years. For the 2 seasons we had 5-7 and 7-6. He's going to be just picking and choosing after this year. So a lot of work to be done, but it's a fun season.
If this keeps going the way it's going with Cam Ward, going from a 5th-round pick to a 1st-round pick, like
Gary, he might go top 5 in the draft.
I understand. Yeah,
this keeps up. So
yes,
a lot of
good. All right, so we're taking Miami.
Yeah,
we're laying the 19.5. Is there a limit? I've started seeing that thing creeping up to 20.
21. I wouldn't go higher than 21 here. That's because then it's more than 3 scores. That's 3 touchdowns and a field goal. You also have to factor in whether it looks like the weather is going to be okay, but you get some winds, you get rain. We've seen some rainy games. We've seen Miami win some games big, but we've also seen some games, you have a bunch of turnovers, so this is one of those, if you like Miami, probably play it now, but factor in the weather, and the weather looks pretty good so far. It looks like it's kind of blow through. The winds also. Yeah, the winds.
Yeah, Friday night should be fine. All right. The good thing is Miami's playing Friday night, because Saturday there's a couple games that are definitely worth being home for to watch. I wanted to ask you about a couple of them, Lee. Let's start with Louisville, a team that's coming up here pretty quickly, that Miami's going to be playing in a couple weeks. They are plus 6.5 at Notre Dame. Okay. I think that's an interesting line. I can't wait to hear what you have to say about it.
All right. So last year, Louisville won 33-20. And I remember the game vividly. Everything that could go right for Louisville went right. They even had a +4 turnover advantage. And you're going to win a lot of games, like, 93, 94, 95% when that happens. I'm not overly impressed with Notre Dame, but this game kind of has maybe some parallels to the Michigan game last week. Michigan played USC. I think Notre Dame might be able to bully Louisville. Now, Louisville has a bunch. They have like 4 or 5 really good running backs, even though their projected best receiver is hurt and out for the season, or at least Cauley, he's out for a long time. They've been able to step up there. But their quarterback, Tyler Shough, he needs play action. He's not one of these guys that can drop back and just take his time. They need to get the running game going, so it makes that play action more effective for him. Notre Dame, they ran for 198 on Texas A&M. Very quality front 7. In fact, Texas A&M might have one of the top 5 defensive fronts. They ran for 364 on Purdue, 270 on Miami of Ohio. Louisville only ran for 98 on 37 carries last week against Georgia Tech. Only ran for 130 against Austin Peay. If there is a weakness, I'm not so sure their offensive line is very good. It's the first road game for Louisville, first top-level opponent. I mean, Georgia Tech is decent. Notre Dame is better, especially at home. Riley Leonard also played them last year when he was at Duke and lost 23-0. Had a horrible game. So I think he's going to be super laser focused here. He hasn't looked anything special so far this year, but I think Notre Dame might be able to bully Louisville similar to that Michigan win against USC. They're going to throw for a lot more than like 32 yards or something like that, whatever it was going into the last drive. And Tyler Shugg, I think, is going to have a much tougher time against a much tougher defense. I like Notre Dame 28-17.
Interesting. So the battle of the unbeatens potentially that could take place in a couple weeks sounds like it's in jeopardy, according to Lee Sterling.
It could, but if you're not wagering on it, you're probably rooting. It's tough to root for Notre Dame. So if you're not wagering on it, probably root for Louisville. So that game means more.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, and maybe the game of the year in college football. Georgia goes to Alabama. 2-point favorites as they walk into Tuscaloosa. What happens in that game?
What do you think Kirby Smart's record is against Alabama last 14 games?
14 games, I would say 9-5.
I thought 10-4, 11-3. He's lost 13 out of 14. So
really,
yeah, they have beaten them only once. Now they came back. I think one of the years they won the national title, they lost, but they ended up getting in the playoff and winning it. Georgia's good, but something's missing. And I'm not just saying the Kentucky game. Clemson should have scored 17 or 20 points in that game the first week of the season. They just couldn't come up with that play every time they got into Georgia field, into their territory. Carson Beck having Brock Bowers last year and Ladd McConkey, those two guys came up big. Dominic Lovett, they thought was going to be their guy. He's done okay. I think he has 9 catches, but no touchdowns yet. And then on the other side, everyone thought, we're looking at Jalen Milroe, good runner, kind of back and forth passer, up and down. He has a incredible receiver. The kid's name is Ryan Williams. So Ryan Williams, number 2, reclassified a year early. I think he just turned 17.
Yeah.
This kid, he could play in the NFL right now. He's that good. He has 10 catches, 4 touchdowns, and wide open. I mean, the separation that he gets is incredible. Georgia's they're playing around like 5 or 6 running backs. Bama, they got their 2 guys, Jam Miller and Justice Haynes, look really good. Home teams, when 2 top 5 teams square off, 17-10 straight up. You're getting 2.5 points here. I'm going to say the wrong team's favorite. Tough game to predict. I'm just going to sit back and enjoy it. Probably not betting the game. Might do some in-game betting on it, but I like Alabama, 27-24. Roll Tide.
All right, Lee, anything special going on at Paramount Sports this week?
Yeah, so we had the Baker's Dozen last week, and that was a winner if anyone jumped on board. We have what's called not October, Locktober. It's 5 weeks of games. It's going to start this Thursday night. Anyone wants to hop on board, goes through Thursday, October 31st. So you get 5 full weeks of action, $5.47 or the entire season for $12.97. I'm going to do this for your listeners. In the coupon box, if you put in coupon code SAVE200 on the Locktober special, takes it down to $3.47. So lowercasing SAVE and the number 200. Don't put a space in between the word number. Save 200, or for the season, put in save 300, takes it down to $9.97 for the season. Just one place, ParamountSports.com.
Wow, Lee Sterling playing Let's Make a Deal this week. You gotta like it. All right, Lee. Well, we'll see if Miami can get that cover on Friday night. I agree with you. I think they will. They got it all going right now, and they're hungry. I mean, nobody's breaking out enough to where they're not showing up at the stadium hungry every week. And that, to me, that's exactly what Mario wants. And it's a formula that's working so far. So I don't look for them.
And crazy enough, Florida and Florida State won last week, which is actually good for us, our strength of schedule.
How about that?
Yeah. So going to be some fun games coming up down the road for Miami.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us, everybody, for another week of You Bet CaneSport with Lee Sterling. For Lee, I'm Gary. We will see you guys next week.